how's it going? Today I'm going to be doing another Jazz Violinist Reacts video. And today I'm looking at something that a lot of people have asked me about in the comment sections of my videos, as well as people asking me all the time on gigs about this specific recording and this specific collaboration. I am, of course, talking about that well-known collaboration between Stefan Grappelli and Yehudi Menuhin. Any of my jazz violin people here who don't know who Yehudi Menuhin is, that's pretty crazy. But I will tell you anyway. He's a very famous classical violinist who sort of made his home in the UK. He also started a classical music school here in London as well for young people. Prep school sort of thing for great classical musicians. I wouldn't know because I've never been a great classical musician. And then also maybe if you're here and you don't know who Stefan Grappelli is, then what's going on? Why are you even here? But if you don't, I'll let you know. He's a very famous, or was a very famous, jazz violinist from France. Why did I forget where he was from? He also became very famous in the UK, especially near the end of his life and the end of his career. He lived here in the UK during the war. He just sort of had a connection to the UK. He is, as we all know, one of the forefathers or the godfathers or the OG jazz violinist guys who paved the way for people like me to, well, do what I do. Anyway, they did a famous collaboration around the 70s, the early 70s. I think they came out with an album in 72. It's just this moment in time that a lot of people often actually talk to me about. So if I'm on a gig, I'm playing my gig, it's the break, there's usually one person will come up to me and say, "Hey, Stefan Grappelli, eh?" And I'll go, "Yeah, I like Stefan Grappelli." And then they'll go, "I saw Grappelli, you know." And I'll go, "Okay, nice." And it'll be in some strange place that's probably been knocked down now in the UK. And then they'll often go, "Hey, what about that thing you did with Yehudi Menuhin?" And and ask me to comment. And I've actually, interestingly, I've just never really checked loads of it out because it's never really super grabbed me, the idea of these sort of classical and jazz collaborations, because I don't know why. It's just not my thing. Maybe because I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not really too much of a classical musician. Anyway, I thought I would do a semi-blind react to a couple of videos for you guys. Anyway, I always try and make these videos a mixture of fun and informative because that's sort of what I do. I'm as much as I'm a fun jazz violin musician, I'm also a jazz violin teacher. I like to try and use this stuff to think about how we might become better musicians ourselves. So without further ado, let's check out the video. We're going to start off with their arrangement of Jealousy. Now, I've not done my research here very much, but I think, is it from a musical? I don't know, but it's like a popular song of the time. Maybe everyone in the 70s knew this tune. Maybe you can tell me in the comments what it is, but I heard a little bit of it earlier, and I've heard it before. I think it's like a tango sort of thing. just going to stop there. Let's listen to was them playing I guess their arrangement or someone's arrangement of this Jealousy tune. Sort of duo arrangement was banned, and okay, so it's what I'm hearing there is it's a sort of tango thing. So it's actually not really them playing jazz at all, really. They are, it's part. Obviously, it's a collaboration between the two of them, and I guess it's not something that either of them really play. I don't think tango is either of their forte. But let's talk about what's happening. So you can tell that neither of them are feeling too comfortable, I don't think. I think that what's funny to check out is like just the sound that both of them are making. It's not really them making their best sound. Certainly Yudi Menuhin, when I hear his tone, I mean, he's such an amazing musician, and his tone here is just not great. He sounds like me, No, he doesn't. It's not that bad. He's really pushing, and I think that maybe it's to do with the sound in the room. That's what I'm getting from it. Actually, it's like they're in the studio. The band's quite far away from them, but maybe it's really loud in there. I can just hear this like sort of pinched sound from Yudi Menuhin, and also from Grappelli as well. They're both reading, I think, from what I can see, which is not Grappelli's. It's not really his forte, I guess. His forte is jazz. I'm sure that Menuhin can read pretty well, so it's not. Yeah, that's not going to be a thing for him. But Grappelli's reading. It doesn't. It's not bad. It sounds okay, but it definitely feels like they're both doing something that's sort of out of their comfort zone. In my last React video, I was looking at Augustin Heydrich playing minor swing, and a lot of what I spoke about was his feel. And in this one, actually the feel's fine because the feel's quite straight, and actually I feel like it's a good middle ground. This is a great middle ground, for these two musicians to sort of meet. So I don't feel like there's any sort of strange feel thing going on. There's a little bit of like it. I think that someone's written this arrangement, maybe both of them together. It just feels a little bit showboaty and a little bit like not very musical, and then also bits of it just don't quite work. There's just so much like from Menuhin sort of decorating the melody, and then Grappelli decorating the melody when Menuhin's playing. I think that happened, and all those little decorations in the back, they just feel sort of a little bit off and a little bit. I mean, some of them aren't played so well, but even if they were played perfectly, I don't think that they work so great. I think there's just a little bit too much going on. It's not really a beautiful arrangement of this tune. I think that bits of it are nice, but some of it's just a little bit sort of just a bit much, I think. But it's not my thing. It's not my thing, I'll tell you. But we're not really at the point where we're listening to Menuhin playing jazz here. He's just playing, sort of just playing some notes. So I don't really have much to say about that. What I do have to say, mainly about this section, though, really, is about the sound. And what you can tell is Menuhin is not comfortable playing with a band. So that, I mean, Grappelli, you can tell there's a little bit more comfort there. Playing in this setup with drums, bass, and stuff. But Menuhin is basically, and it's not even just his playing, really. It's like how it's all set up. He's used to sort of like projecting over an orchestra, which is, I guess, a different thing to projecting over a band. And anyway, having to try to project over a band or project at all is not really conducive to playing sort of nice, sort of jazz-based music. It's quite hard to sort of improvise in any way or feel comfortable when you're trying to sort of push your sound over the top of whatever you're playing over. Just there's a sound thing here that I think isn't right, and I think that I hear that it's like Menuhin doesn't really feel comfortable when he's playing in this setting. I don't think he doesn't seem comfortable. I don't think his playing is super comfortable. He's just not playing how he would usually play. Let's have a little listen and see if we get a little bit more jazz from this next moment. Okay. So there, what's happening is they are doing what we call in jazz trading fours. So they are seemingly they are trading 4 bars each of improvised music. From what I've heard about this collaboration, I think that most of that stuff is written out, or not written out, but is sort of composed for Menuhin. I don't think he's improvising. But actually, I don't know if it's fair for me to just make that assumption and talk like he isn't. Obviously, Grappelli sounds better in this instance. So it's actually really tough for Yehudi Menuhin, and I think it shows a lot of, how would you say this? Courage. Artistic courage, but also sort of like career courage. Career courage, is that a thing? To do this collaboration, and to, especially when you're doing fours, right? So you've got Grappelli, who's like the master of jazz violin, takes 4 bars of solo, and then you do it, and then he, the master, does it, and then you do it. And this is a master of classical violin, so it's hardcore. I think the fact that he's doing it, I really like much respect to him. But yeah, I mean, let's be clear. It's his playing. It sounds really stiff in comparison to Grappelli. Having said that, I don't know if Grappelli's playing sounds that great here either. And I think, again, it is something to do with the sound in there. As I said earlier, you can just tell that no one there is really loving what they're playing or really enjoying the whole thing. And yeah, I hear Grappelli's playing, and I just feel like it's just not quite sitting how I know he can do. Now, a caveat here is I actually not a massive lover of Grappelli's later playing, in as much as I am a lover of his playing earlier on. I think Grappelli sort of, his best moments were when he was doing the Django and Grappelli in Rome stuff, so sort of late 40s, mid to late 40s. His playing, I think, was like exactly where I liked it, basically. So here, I don't know. I don't want to get too brutal about it, because he's obviously amazing, and he is himself. That's the thing. All that stuff that we hear him playing is like his stuff, and people since then have sort of tried to emulate it, and it's become something that it's like a given that it's there. But it really is like his style. So fair play to the guy. But yeah, like I said, just not my favorite sound. And then we've got the Menuhin bit. Now, there were some moments that I just really loved, actually. I really enjoyed the big jump that he did up the octave. I don't know what key they're in, but yeah, I think it was just like the root of whatever key they're in. You could just hear that he had sort of warmed into it at that point, and he had a nice tone, and it was just there was nice feel there. And it's, I think that is how classical violinists often will deal with swing, is they'll soar over it rather than digging in like a jazz musician does, digging into that swing rhythm, the ding ding, the ding ding, the ding ding, the ding, playing do da do ba da boo ba da dee da. Rather than playing like that, they'll be playing and just finding ways to sort of weave in and out. Now, I think that is absolutely fine, and I think it's an okay thing to do, and it's an okay thing to go for. Play legato over swing. It's a totally okay thing to do as long as we do it well. Something that I sometimes try to do myself is really just try, that rubato sound over the top of rhythm and time. And actually, someone who did that so well was not a violinist, Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong had that really great way of sort of creating a sort of rubato-ish sound over the top of swing. He actually did it quite a lot of the time with triplets. Something that I spoke about in my most recent jazz violin podcast episode at the end of part 1 of my episode with Christian House. So go and check out that if you are interested in what I'm talking about right now. Anyhow, to recap that little fours moment, I'm not hearing anybody really playing at their best here. Obviously, Grappelli sounds best in that instance, but Menuhin does his thing, and it's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad. He is one of the best ever, so it makes sense that even his sort of okay is going to be pretty okay. Let's have a little check of the rest of the video. It's nice. They obviously are good friends, and they really, really respect each other, and they like hanging out, and probably they like playing as well. So great. And I think that they obviously did enjoy their collaboration in general. I don't think they enjoyed that recording. I can just tell, this is a musician who's done loads of things where I'm not having a great time, but I'm here now and everyone's watching, and I better pretend I am. I think that they didn't have the best time there. Anyway, one last musical thing that I think is interesting to check out is the difference in their rhythm, and you can tell that by the breaks. So they do that bit. I think they both rush those little breaks, but Grappelli less so. I think Menuhin really, really overrushed it. And it's just a different thing. The way that classical musicians and jazz musicians see rhythm is very different. Jazz musicians have to fit inside groove a lot more than classical musicians, and certainly classical soloists do. I'm choosing my words carefully here because I might be wrong, but it feels like someone like Menuhin the way that he plays is a little bit like he can sort of push and pull the time, and it's up to everybody else to sort of to stick with him. Whereas Grappelli is aware of that relationship between himself and a jazz band, and that is, we're all sort of pushing and pulling together, and we all have to find a sort of common place. And that's how I feel. Those breaks, Grappelli maybe rushes it a little bit, but not as much as Menuhin. And in general, I think even without those breaks, that's sort of how it feels. I think those breaks speak quite a lot about that sort of maybe that misunderstanding of soloist and accompanist or accompanying musicians that classical musicians maybe sometimes have. I think when you've played enough jazz and you've played with enough different jazz musicians, you realize that it is super important that we all stay together. And it's like that amount of rushing is, it's just not really possible if you're going to play jazz, or that amount of pushing the beat and pushing, you know, playing with the beat. You can't really do that in a break. If like, it's just not possible. If I ever do that in a break, I'm like, oh no, and I can tell everyone starts panicking. You know, it's difficult if you've got a musician who does that in sort of breaks, because you've pushed the time on, and now everyone's thinking, shall I move with them? You know, the band's good, so they didn't. But I would say that, yeah, that break could have been a little bit more relaxed. Hey, maybe I'm overthinking it, and maybe they just, you know, it was just a mistake. But I don't know. I'm speculating. You can tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm talking nonsense and all that stuff. I run a jazz violin practice club, which is every Monday at 6 p.m. UK time. I've been doing this for years and years and years now. We meet on Zoom, and you can practice jazz violin along with me. So it's guided practice session. Everyone is zooming in on me. Everyone is muted and just listening to what I do, and I'm taking people through interesting lines, interesting concepts, interesting jazz violin exercises that I have developed to help us work on different things that I think we need to work on as jazz violinists. Maybe working on a couple of things that we've been chatting about in this video. Hey, you can only find out. The link is in the description of this video. Thanks very much for listening. Goodbye.